Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, and in this episode of the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast, we're talking with a pitmaster who's taken his love of barbecue and combined it with his skills in boiler making to start a business making drum smokers that are every bit as good as the fancy imported ones. Hey family, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. This is episode 115 of the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast. And before we get into talking with our guest today, I've just got a couple of announcements that I'm going to run past you. First of all, some big news. Meat and Fire Media Services has officially launched. We're taking all the things that we do here at Smoking Hot Confessions and making those services available to other businesses who are looking to build their brand and engage more customers. We're kicking things off with our very first online course, Brand Building Through Strategic Media Marketing. In this course, we'll take you through the exact systems, strategies, and tools that we use here to promote Smoking Hot Confessions. The lessons are videos with downloadable worksheets and transcripts to make sure we've got everybody's learning styles covered. And as a launch special, we want to give all you podcast listeners a 25% discount on this course. So if you're ready to take social media marketing seriously, head on over to meatandfiremediaservices.com/all-courses and use the code word podcast at checkout to get that 25% discount. Now, if you would like to help us out and you're watching this episode and you've been enjoying the show, it would really help us out if you could give us a like and a share on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, a subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If you're watching on IGTV, give us that cute little heart and a follow. And if you're listening on a podcast app, hit us up with a 5-star review and a rating. It only takes a minute of your time, but it really helps us out so much. Now, in today's episode, we are talking with a pitmaster who truly, madly, deeply fell in love with competition barbecue. And inspired by the outstanding quality of the imported drum smokers, he set about building his own right here in Australia. He's now running one of the most popular smoker manufacturing businesses in the country, is renowned for creating drum smokers that are every bit as good as the important ones, is renowned for creating drum smokers that are every bit as good as the imported ones, and he has quite a flair for customization, proving a hit on the competition circuit. Today, we're talking to Drue from Drue Be of Dru-B-Q. So in today's episode, we're going to get Drue's introduction to the barbecue scene. We're going to find out about his experiences in competition barbecue. And then we're going to get into the actual smoker company, into Drue Be of Dru-B-Q. We're going to find out why he decided to start a drum smoker company. We're going to find out what sets his drums apart from the competition. And really interestingly, we're going to learn about the innovations that he's come up with. I've seen some of the things he's done. It's really fascinating stuff. And then we're going to finish up. Drue's going to give us a lesson on the best practices for using a drum smoker. Now, drum smokers are becoming more and more popular in the whole barbecue scene as a community at this time. So getting these tips and these techniques for how to best use a drum smoker is going to be really important. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this episode.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
Alrighty, Drue, thank you very much for joining me in the confessional today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, Ben. Yourself?
Mate, it has been a great day today. I'm technically on holidays, so I thought, well, hey, let's have some barbecue chats.
Ah, awesome, mate. Awesome. We're just down in Sydney and it's raining this afternoon, so.
It's been pretty wet up here the last few days as well. I think we're getting hit all up and down the East Coast.
We need it.
We definitely do. Yeah. So let's kick things off with the first question that I like to ask everybody. What was the last thing that you barbecued?
Oh, yeah, brisket, I believe. No, beef ribs.
Beef ribs, nice one. What do you like about beef ribs?
Well, they taste better than brisket in my opinion. They're easier to cook. The only downfall is they've got a big bone in you got to pay for.
Yeah, that is a bit of a downside. It is always sort of heartbreaking to sort of slice that meat off the bone and feel the weight of the meat and feel the weight of the bone and go, oh.
Yeah, or as it cooks, it starts to shrink and shrink and shrink. You're like, where's it all going? And you got this big bone left over.
Yeah, no, they're a favourite here as well. So you obviously you're a drum man. Do you cook on drums exclusively at home, or do you have something else hiding on the back deck there?
No, exclusively drums now. I used to have all the other types of things, pellet cookers and Webers and offsets and that type of stuff, but now it's just solely drums.
Rightio, yeah, cool. So let's back things up a bit then before we get to those drums.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you did used to have all the other barbecues there. Where did it all start for you? How did you get into barbecue?
Well, like low and slow type of barbecue was probably about 5 years ago. And my brother-in-law at the time bought a Weber. And I was like, oh, this thing's great. And I looked and looked and looked. I was going to buy a brand new Weber. And my friend's like, I think I got one underneath the house. So he came around one day and it had a cover on it and had a table type of thing. He's like, it's been on there for ages. Dad's passed and, you know, you can have it if you want it. I was like, oh, okay. So I gave him $50, not knowing what I had in my hands at the time, but it turned out to be a blue Weber with a table, and I don't know what model, but it was very old. I was like, okay. So the first thing I did was drilled a hole in the lid and put this jumbuck square gauge in the lid because I didn't have a lid, you know.
Oh, no.
It wasn't even in the center. I drilled it off to the side. I don't know. So anyway, we cooked on that for a long, long time. And the first thing I cooked was a whole rump. And I was throwing wood chips after wood chips on it, like, you know, smoke and train. And then this is going to be great. And it wasn't. It was rubbish. It was absolute rubbish. I was like, the people on the internet are mad. Why would you eat this stuff? But we've all been there. So more research and got slightly better at it. And the rest is history, I suppose. But yeah, I ended up selling that Weber this year, the start of this year, for about $300.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but a guy on our team, Chris, is a Weber fanatic, and when he's seen it, he was sacrilege, absolute sacrilege.
I was about to say that all the Weber fans listening to this podcast out there now are just screaming at their phones, going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly. No, I put it to good use. I had a great fun with it.
Yeah. No worries at all. So, where did it go from there? So you had that Weber, you had that first shocking cook. Where did you sort of progress through from there?
I bought an Audi gas smoker, you know, the upright ones.
They're rebadged cooler bars, aren't they? Or co-developed or something?
Or something like that. Yeah. So I got one of them, did some cooking on that, and I wanted to make an offset. Didn't know you could buy them at like, I don't think Barbecues Galore had them at the time. I think it was like Hark was like the only ones bringing them in. So I was like, I'll make one out of a drum. You know, it should be fine. I didn't know how to weld. So I bought a shit welder off eBay and it was a nightmare. But anyway, I built like this offset looking drum and used recycled pallets, hardwood pallets to make a nice table for it. And it was okay. Like it did the job. You know, you can cook on anything. It's not the materials you have type of thing. And I actually used to take that and the gas smoker out to markets and do Drue Be-Q pulled pork. That's where it all sort of started, the name. And that was cool. And I'd sell out in 2 or 3 hours and then off I'd go home. It was really cool. But
so you found that that market model worked well for you?
Yeah, it's just sell one thing and that's pulled pork, put it on a piece of bread and off you go. And so that's where the Drue Be-Q name basically started.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach, just sort of keeping that menu super simple. There's a guy, he's near the border of Texas and Louisiana, and all he does is ribs. And he's got this he's got this one smoker. He is famous for these ribs. These ribs are just mouth-watering. All he does is ribs. That's all you can get is just pork ribs. Doesn't do sides, nothing else, just pork ribs. And he is sold out with lines around the block day in, day out.
Yeah, I seen that sort of method when I was in Perth. I was on the Kings Park, I think it is, there on the river. It was Australia Day thing, and there was people everywhere. There was food tents all set up, lines everywhere. And I was waiting in this one line to get, I think it was just hamburger and chips or something simple like that. And it just was not moving. And then a couple of food stores down, the line was just moving. I don't even know what they were selling. But I'm getting in that line and I'm just getting whatever they get. So I get all the way up to the front. And then I see all they sell is jerk chicken. That's it. No drinks, no chips, nothing. It's just jerk chicken. And I went, this is great, you know. So I used that in my Drue Be-Q pulled pork and went from there.
And how good was that jerk chicken?
It was I was drunk, so it was pretty good. It was spicy, actually. It was really spicy.
Awesome. Yeah. Jerk chicken is one of my absolute favorite things. So what is your favorite thing to barbecue?
Everything. Now, chicken's pretty good because it's cheap, but just anything, really. I cook to please the people around me, I reckon. If they're loving it, then that's something good to cook.
Yeah, good call on that one. Yeah. So do you find that your family is more sort of beef oriented or lamb or pork or?
Well, chicken, because that's what I feed a lot of them. So I love chicken wings and I can't get enough of it. I think my record is nearly 30 chicken wings in one sitting.
Wow. That's
yeah, I know.
Now is that like whole as in both pieces or 30 pieces?
Flat and a drum, no tips. Don't want the tips, rubbish.
Right. That is quite an achievement.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 kilos or something like that.
Yeah. What's your favorite style then? Is it like, do you do jerk chicken wings?
All of them. I haven't really, but what I've been thinking about lately is doing like a chili lime chicken wing, but fried, smoked then fried, whatever, shredded on pizza.
That's a nice idea, shredded on
tattoo. Pizza. Yeah. I get a little drummy on one side and a wing head on the other.
Yeah. I've got a cookbook up here behind me. It's I'll just grab it.
Yeah.
Completely unsponsored plug here. It's the Great Aussie Barbie Cookbook by Kim Tarakis. There is a jerk chicken wing recipe in that is to die for. It is one of my favorite things to cook. Yeah, I will, yeah.
Jerk chicken's something I really want to get into because that's like a whole nother subculture in itself. But something I haven't really cooked a lot of. I love chicken, so it will have to be on the cards.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that there. So now, something that my listeners know about me is that I have blown up 2 barbecues and nearly burnt down my house twice. It seems to be a lesson that I had to learn 2 times. Have you ever had a barbecue disaster?
I did have an electric heat gun once that I was using to start charcoal, which caught on fire because I was inside prepping the meat. It's not much of a problem, but I've had my GMG pellet grill moving that tipped over on its side.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I've had things like that. At one comp, we had a 20-inch horizon offset all loading into the trailer, and it slid down the trailer and pinned my teammate Jeff up against the back of the trailer.
Oh my God.
What are they, like 350 kilos, 400 kilos or something like that? And then that was, I think, meat stock one year, and then Port Macquarie the same year, lifting it onto the trailer. It slid off the ramp of the trailer and the wheel landed on his toe and just turned it black and blue. It was just mush.
Wow.
So we're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be carrying this thing all around the countryside.
That sounds like you got the Christine of barbecues.
Yeah. So, but no, I have not burnt the house down with barbecues, but I've done a lot of silly things when I was young. So
just nearly crushed a couple of your mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your what was the first cook that you felt like you really nailed it?
I know, really. I can't remember. It's been so many good ones all over the years and so many good meals. Like I've eaten from everywhere. I don't know.
Alrighty, cool.
I can't remember.
So you mentioned your competition team there before and some of your competition experiences. I can see a banner in the background there says Wild West Barbecue. Is that your team?
Yeah, that was from Parramatta, and it actually said Will West Barbecue.
Oh, okay.
And my teammate Jeff's like, how do they get that wrong? We're not putting that up. And so I just coloured in the last L to make a D, and I kept it because it's a bit of a funny story. So, yeah, Wild West Barbecue is our team. We're still going as well. So we're planning on going to the Royal this year, but I don't think that's happening.
Ooh, to the Royal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Bit of a bucket list thing, yeah.
So did you guys win a GC to get that invite? How did you get to there?
No, not the invite one. The what's it called? Because you have the Royal, the invitational, and what's the other one? The non-invitational or something like that.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, maybe not too sure. Maybe the actual name of the comp's wrong, but we're planning to go to the States. So
okay.
We booked that in January, and coronavirus wasn't really that big, but I was watching it. And so I was talking to the flight center lady. It's like, what about like this coronavirus or this virus? You think that's going to be big? She's like, what is that? And I was talking to her. She said, don't worry about that. It's nothing. So anyway, a couple of weeks later, it's like the world's just dead and coronavirus everywhere. So I wish I could go back there and say, hey, I told you so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I booked my tickets to the States on January 22, and on January 23, the WHO declared it as an international pandemic. It's like,
So I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I think it might have been one of them other famous radio station style podcasts in the States. And they were talking about the comp that we were looking at going to, and they're saying they're still going to go along with it, but everyone else says it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that is the Royal, because Memphis in May has been put off till next year now.
Yeah.
They were going to try and move that to October, but they decided to pull the plug on that and just say, no, we'll just do that 2021. The Jack, I think, was the other one that's been put off to 2021, and there's just the Royal left. They're just trying to decide what they're going to do with it.
I moved it to like Kansas Speedway or something.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. The approach there seems to be business as usual. Let's go ahead, but then you keep seeing these competitions put off. So I think it's just kind of a play it by ear scenario right now.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. So who's on your team? Tell us about how you got that team together.
I actually responded to an ad on the ABA page. Teammate Jeff Bracanto, I think that's his last name, Bracanto. He put an ad out on the ABA page. I just want to start a team. He lived a couple of suburbs over. So we met up at this barbecue joint that was pretty horrible. It's no longer around. It was me and Adrian Lupano from Butterbeard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really weird. It was like a job interview. It was like weird. But so anyway, I got picked, and Adrian, I think, had kids on the way, and he was like, I can't do this now. And maybe I should have went with Adrian because they've done quite well. But nah, it's fine. We got some call ups, and we've had a great time. So yeah, that was maybe 4 years ago, and we've just been cooking ever since. And we've had a new teammate come along to help share the expenses. Chris, he's in the team. He floats in and out. He's got, kids and family and that type of stuff. So he's got to maintain that. So he doesn't come to all of them, but he's a great help. And then we have in some blow-ins like my uncle and his daughter come in and help with the dishes and unpacking and stuff like that. So,
oh, that's good. Sounds like you got quite a flexible team like I do when I like to compete. I jokingly call it the gypsy team because no competition is ever the same group of people. Yeah,
it's good. It's all about having fun. Like, we're serious. We try and win trophies, but the main thing is having fun.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I guess then you cook all your competition dishes on drums. What's been your most successful competition hand in?
Brisket, I think, is probably our most consistent. So normally we're in the top 10 when we cook a brisket. So pretty consistent with that. And other things are hit and miss, like chicken and ribs are pretty hit and miss, but we tweak it and we can slowly see it going up the graph. We're getting better and better. Well,
that's good stuff, man. That's good. So you're constantly refining, always progressing.
Always learning, consuming information from everywhere and just, walking our own path, but listening from everything else.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, so we've talked about your background with barbecue now, and we've had a bit of a chat about your competition experiences. Tell us about Drue Be of Dru-B-Q, the business. How did that come about?
Well, I sort of stumbled into it actually. Our team had a competition in Melbourne for KCBS, the Yaks one at the racecourse. And it was only a few months prior that the smoker had fallen off and bunged up Jeff's toe. So we were like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to take this big smoker or not? And Gateways was just coming into the country and Jeff purchased one. So we'll take this and we'll take that blue Weber that I put a thermometer in the top and we'll go down with that. Well, it got stuck in customs and it wasn't going to be ready. So I was like, I'll try and build one. So we got a drum together. We bought 2 drums, and my friend Jason, who paints all my cars and all that type of stuff, he's a welder, and because I couldn't weld at the time, I was like, let's make one of these. So we built 2 drums. We built 3 actually. One was for Jason. Built 2 drums, and we took them down to Melbourne, untested, unpainted, uncooked on, and had some fun and got a trophy on both. So we got a 4th from brisket and a 5th on pork, handshake from Iron Mixon. Wow. And I was sold. I was like, these drums are amazing. You know? So I decided we weren't going to paint them. We're just going to leave them rat rod style. But, you know, the business was starting to become something. And I was like, I can't be showing these off at barbecue comps. And, hey, you want to buy a rusty smoker? So we ended up painting them. But yeah, that's how it happened. We just fell into it. So built them, cooked on them, and that was it.
Yeah, right. Cool. And so the reason for drums in particular, because I mean, most people that are starting smoker companies are building offsets, but you've gone straight to drums. Like, why the drums? Was it purely the portability of it?
Yeah, exactly. So easy to pick up and move around, and for the space on the ground that 3 to 4 drums take, you take up the same space as an offset, but you can cook all your meats in different temperatures and in different times perfectly. And then you can pick them up and not squash your toe and put them on the ute and off you go.
And they're not going to fall off the ute and kill anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So it just started to make sense. And then the more and more I cooked on them, the more and more I was like, why do I need the pellet grill, or why do I need the Weber, or why do I need the other offset? Because they were just so easy, and went from there.
Yeah, right. Okay. So what makes your drums different to the other ones on the market?
Not sure. They're shiny.
They're shiny.
They could be customized quite well. So recently we just painted one to match a Dodge truck for a customer that has the same 1956 Dodge truck. So he's wanted the drum the same. So I think the custability of it all makes it the uniqueness for my drums compared to others.
Right, yeah. And so what sort of customizations do you have available?
Color is pretty the high one. That's nearly limitless, depending if we can buy the paint from the car shop. And other things like, I don't know if you've seen the Army style drum I built a few months ago.
I did see that one, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the sayings I throw around a lot is you're only limited by your own imagination. You might not be able to build it, but you can work out how to build it with your imagination, and then you go from there. So I'll try and take on any task that I can do it. And if I don't know how to do it, I'll YouTube it until I do.
Yeah. So I've seen some things like custom handles and different types of air vents and things like that. And I'm going to get back to air vents in a minute because I've got a couple of questions about positioning vents and what sort of differences that makes. So what would be the most highly customized drum that you've made? Like, I don't know, axe handles for grips, or, you know, half moons for the vents on the top of the air vents or something. I don't know.
Well, the Army style one that we built a couple months ago for a veteran was probably the most customized one that I've made. So that had toy grenades on top of the air vents that had LED lights and sounds on it. The air stacks, the tubes that run down the side, I found a bed frame on council pickup, which was made out of like an IKEA pipe tubing type of frame thing. So I cut it all up and I drilled 720 holes, and I made a jig, put it in my bench drill, drilled 720 holes, and turned these air stacks into something that represents a Gatling gun. The guy used to fly or be on the side of helicopters, shoot machine guns out the side. So it's not a Dylan machine gun is what he used to use, but at least this way when someone looks at it, they'd be like, oh, that looks like a machine gun. So we turned the air stacks into machine guns. The handle on top that you pull the lid off, we made it look like a collapsible ammo tin handle. So, and then we made a rocket out of the air stack. The first couple of rockets we made, though, because the army style air rockets aren't what you would think a rocket is, because they're sort of phallus shaped, they're domed on the top and stuff like that. And when we made it, it was like, people were like, what is that? It's not what you think straight away is a rocket. So we had to make a comical style rocket, with red and white and pointy things. So when people look like, oh yeah, it's a rocket. So we painted it ammo green. We printed off some stencils. We actually, the ammunition the guy used to shoot, we made that stencil, hand cut it out, put it on the drum, painted it. So it's the same ammunition that he used to shoot. So just little custom touches like that. So they were 7.62 millimeter rounds. That's what he used to shoot. And so we spray painted that on the side. And yeah, that's the most custom one I've done. I'm doing a theme one at the moment. So that's got some key things on it, like gun handles, like revolver Western style handles, because his name's actually Woody, and a sort of a Toy Story themed drum. So we're going through that. There's a few little key things, look on the Drue Be-Q page and you'll see it coming up in a couple of days.
That's awesome, man. That sounds so good. So
cheers.
The question that I wanted to loop back to about the air vents, I've seen some drums where they have just like a ball vent on the bottom, and you got to bend down and turn the handles, and then drums like I've seen on yours where you got the pipes coming up the side. What's that like? Is there a difference other than just saving your back between bending over and turning those ball valves and having the stacks up the side?
Most of the time it is just, it's ease of access. You don't have to bend over and touch it. I have noticed though in some quite windy conditions that the style of vent, which is just a hole down the bottom or the ball valve as you're speaking, can actually let the wind straight into the fire and blow ash out or actually raise your temperatures up. So, but I only find that in pretty windy scenarios. But going back to the ball valves that you speak of, one of the common problems I see with everyone building their own drums, and which I did too at the start, is that the ball valves are quite restrictive on the internal diameter of the sides. So I'm like, oh yeah, the gateway's got 2 pipes going up the side. Let's go to Bunnings and buy 2 ball valves and be sweet. Turns out you end up having to buy 3 or 4 ball valves because the internal diameter is too small and the fire doesn't have enough oxygen to breathe properly.
Interesting, yeah. Because so with the piped vents like yours, you'd have, I don't know, what is that, about 40 mil across pipe. But if it's a ball valve, then you've got a 40 mil hole with a 35 mil ball inside it.
Yeah, correct. So mine are 51 millimeters, so 2-inch internal diameter. But yeah, it's exactly right. You go to Bunnings, 1-inch ball valve, I'll buy a couple of them. The actual internal diameter is, like you're saying, 30, 32.
I had never actually thought of that, but yeah, of course that makes sense. Yeah. Now, how do okay, so I see all these things about people being able to cook briskets in a drum in like 5 hours and all that sort of stuff. And I've heard stories about the airflow is so much different and all that sort of stuff. Can you give us a bit of a breakdown on how a drum smoker works and why they're able to do these briskets in 5 hours?
Well, a drum smoker is more direct cooking, as the fire is essentially situated underneath the meat. It's not off to the side. So we cook at 300 generally. You can bring the temps down in a drum down to 250 or even higher in mine, like over 500 Fahrenheit. Generally, you would cook at about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I think the reason why it cooks quicker is that you can get to that bark and wrap stage a lot faster because it's crisping or colouring quickly because the fire is directly underneath the meat. And then, I think that's about it. So we generally do briskets in 4 to 5 hours. You could do the same in an offset, but you just really got to feed it some logs to get that temperature up and get that air going over the top.
Yeah, basically just have a constant shovel of logs just going into the firebox there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to efficiency, how do your drums go? I've heard some people claiming they can do 20-hour cooks on an 8-kilo bag of charcoal, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so the fire baskets that I make hold about 5 kilos of lump charcoal. And let's say we're cooking at 300 degrees and the temperature's perfect and altitude's fine, all that type of stuff. Theoretically, we could cook at 300 degrees for anywhere from 12 to 13, 14 hours. And as the fire starts to die down, as the fuel starts to run out, we can go all the way up to 20 to 22 hours, and then it goes below 225 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're not really cooking anymore, so I don't record any times. If we were to do 250 degrees Fahrenheit from the start with our 5 kilos of lump charcoal, this is all depending if your charcoal's of good quality and so forth, we can see up to 18 to 20 hours plus cooking at them temperatures. And that's not reloading or stoking the fire or shaking the ash out. It's just load it up and off you go.
God, that's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's so cheap. Like
Yeah.
a big bag of charcoal is 20 kilos or something like that. It just lasts you forever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
cheating, actually.
There's like 100 hours of cook time there.
Yeah. You don't have to do anything. You just light it and off you go.
So
So that's why I got rid of all the other barbecues, and now I start to, why does people use the other things? But horses for courses, the authentic taste that, post oak Texas brisket type of style that's cooked really, really well is you just can't replicate that in a drum, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close indeed, and it's certainly gaining popularity on the competition circuit. I just wanted to loop back to one thing before. I've heard people talk about the way that the air moves through the inside of the smoker. Have you researched the thermodynamics of it?
No, I haven't had enough time to get into that. That's something that I'd really, really like to do is, that thermodynamic type of thing, see how it actually flows through. But from using them quite a lot, I can see that it's not just something simple where you're like, oh, yeah, it's just fire and air and smoke comes out the top. Because if you turn the lid around so it's not facing at the exhaust, is not facing at the back, it's now facing at the front, it really chokes the fire down and you can get really low temps from it. So obviously the air passing through is now coming out a different way and it's having an effect on the smoker. So
that's interesting.
And I have seen people build smokers where the air inlets are at 3 and 9 o'clock, so they're coming in at each other, and they're like, I just can't get the temperatures up. It's just I think that the air in from both sides are crossing each other out. So there's definitely a bit of a science in it. Do I know all the equations for it? No, I don't, but I would really like to. So if there's any thermodynamic people out there or studying it, let's get in touch and let's make something happen.
Yeah. Now, I met you in person at Kangaroo Valley last year, and you got to show me some of your smokers there. One of the things that I was really impressed with was the fan blade type thing that you were sitting inside some of them. Tell us about that one.
So as a drum cooker cooks, it's the heat source, the fire basket's underneath the meat, and over a little bit of a long cook, so your brisket, 3 to 4 hours long cook, right? The heat coming straight up can cook or char the center of the grate quicker. So you can put a deflector in or a diffuser. There's a few different names for it, and it just mellows out that aggressive heat raising straight up. And that's basically what it is. It's a deflector, and it just mellows the rising heat. There's a few styles out there. Mine's a fan. It's just sort of uniquely recognizable as a Drue Be-Q diffuser. And I just looking at things around in the garage, shed, and job, and that, and he's like, this is going to work. So, and I really believe it does work. So I cook a lot of chicken wings. Love chicken wings. And I didn't like moving the chicken wings from the center of the grill to the outside, and then from the outside to the center. If I'm putting 5 kilos of chicken wings and there's a lot of chicken wings to move, the deflector fan actually makes a huge difference. Now I don't have to turn them from the side to the middle and the middle to the side. They cook evenly, and most importantly, they color evenly. So as you eat with your eyes first, for me, that's important. It's like, wow, you open the lid and go, wow, they all look the same. How cool is this? Do you need one to cook good barbecue? definitely not. You can cook great barbecue without a deflector fan. Just change your technique a little bit. But just like running, you don't need nights to win, but it's much easier.
Yeah. I was really impressed with that because that seemed really innovative to me, something that I hadn't seen people doing much of before.
Look, I didn't come up with the idea. I just take ideas from all over and put my own flair onto it. Sometimes it's hard re-engineering the wheel because it's still going to be circle in the end.
Yeah. Now, did I hear you say when we started talking about the business of Drue Be that you were not a welder?
Yeah, that's correct. My background is labouring. I've been a labourer my whole life. Welding is not something that I knew how to do. I know about it. I've been a tinkerer in the shed. I could live in a shed. I love it. And I've built things my whole life. And, I'd get a new present when I was a kid. I'd take it completely apart and try and make it better. And I haven't even used it yet. So, yes, I didn't know how to weld when I started Drue Be-Q. My friend Jason, who helped me build the first ones, is a painter and body fixer of cars. So he was showing me some things and helping. And as it progressed and we were like, got to make more, or people want this, or people want that, or I want to go and weld at his place, it's a half-hour drive. So I can't do this at 10 o'clock at night when my brain's going crazy. So I bought a welder and did some stuff and it was horrible. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So sometimes YouTube's not the best. So enrolled in night TAFE and started doing courses. And then from there, just lay kilometre after weld, and practice makes perfect. And I needed a lot of practice.
Yeah. Well, mate, it's obviously paid off because I was really surprised when you told me that just at the start of this episode that you had not been a welder beforehand, because your drums are outstanding. The quality and the finish of them, the fit and finish is just amazing.
Thanks, Ben. That means a hell of a lot to me. So I used to be a car detailer at one stage of my life. So it was about 4 years I was a detailer, and attention to detail is obviously in the job title. So I overthink everything and I see everything. I believe I see everything. So what some people go, that looks great. I'm pulling it apart in my head. And so I think that type of mentality crosses over into what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Now we seem to keep looping back to cars here in this conversation. So let's take a bit of a tangent here. You're obviously a car guy. Are you a Ford guy, a Holden guy, or an import guy?
Oh, I like them all. I'm an enthusiast, just like barbecues. I'm an enthusiast, so they all have a soft spot in my heart, and I love them all. I got parts up here on the roof, and there's all parts over here. And they've been actually put on the back burner since I started Drue Be-Q. Obviously, it's taken up all my time, so I walk past them every day. I was like, I've got to finish you one day. I'll finish you one day. One day. Yeah. So car enthusiast. I got 2 Holdens at the moment. They're both VN Commodores. One's one of my first cars, and I converted it to manual, rebuilt the motor. It's a nut and bolt rebuild. It's got turbos on it. It's methanol injected, and it's still in a million bolts. It was running a many a times, and I do one thing. It's like, while I'm doing that, I'll take this apart and do this, but I'll get back to it. I won't give up.
Yeah, sounds good. So just doubling back to Drue Be then, you were talking about heading over to the States and doing some stuff over there. Were you going to be taking some drums over with you, or would you grab some drums while you're over there?
Well, the beauty of the internet, I just put a call out on all the Facebook pages everywhere, and building drums it's pretty easy, and there's a worldwide movement of people building drums. Find a drum in the back paddock, drill some holes in it, make some good barbecue. So when we actually bought all our tickets and registered, and I was like, okay, it's getting serious. I reached out to a few people, like the normal ones like Cotton Gin Smokers and Hunsaker, all the big names, and probably everyone else that's traveling over there does the same thing. So I didn't get much of a response, which is fun. So then I was like, well, what about all the people building their own? And, the barbecue community, as you know yourself, Ben, is helpful. You know, that we might be competing against each other, but I'll give you everything that I've got. And so we got one guy was going to make us 2 drums, and an actual organizer for the event has 2 drums. He's like, do you need anything else? Tables, chairs, all that type of stuff. And so it was only over about 3 weeks. We pretty much got everything sorted.
Wow, that's awesome. So someone was going to actually make you some drums from scratch.
Yep. God, they weren't going to be pretty, but they're going to cook, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's such good sort of camaraderie, I guess, from the wider barbecue community.
Yeah, well, as you know, barbecue camaraderie is great. That's why I keep going back to competitions. They're expensive. They're hard. The weekend's long. I still got to go to work and do my washing when I come back. But the time you have there, the fun you have, the people you talk to, they all have passion and they're all good people, you know, and that's what keeps bringing me back. That's what makes me live for barbecues because of that, you know. You see someone cook some barbecue, I gave it to my family, they love it. And then, it makes you feel good. So,
yeah,
it's a good sport.
Doubt. Yeah. Now, your drums are actually becoming more and more popular on the Australian competition circuit. What sort of uptake are you seeing with teams, and what's been their feedback?
I think there's about 10 or 12 teams that have my drums, and many, many more that have some parts that they've built their own drums with. I get maybe 1 or 2 messages a week about people about competition drums, and that my actual standard drum that I build that everyone can have, and that's it. It is a competition drum. So there's nothing different between what I build for people in their backyard to people competing on it. It's the same thing. Everyone can cook great.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I think was it Ryan? I think was cooking with you there when I saw you down at Kangaroo Valley, and he was just in love with his.
Yeah, Rubbing the Fat barbecue team.
That was them. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a pretty cool sticker on their drums. Yeah, we try and get together or camp next to each other a fair bit because I got four drums and they have 4 drums. So it's like 8 drums lined up in a row, and, you know, a bit of flexing type of style going on. So,
yeah, very cool. Now, I just heard you say sticker there before. How do you find stickers that won't peel off in the heat?
So we have a heat resistant style of sticker that I get made up. You cut out of a special type of vinyl, and so far so good, but I haven't really cooked over 500 degrees Fahrenheit too many times, so I don't know. But if you cook it at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, I don't think any sticker's going to hold up.
I would imagine not.
Yeah, on our team drums, Wild West Barbecue, we've got a pretty intricate skull cowboy guns type of logo, which we got a sticker made up, which is about 330 centimeters wide. We stuck that on the lid. So it's a black and white sticker on a black drum. Looks mint, stands out great. And we haven't had any discoloring yet. And so white, I've been told by the person who makes the stickers for me, is the color that would discolor the most. And after 20, 30 cooks now, it seems to be still white.
Yeah, right. Okay. So is that more to do with the design of the drum and the fact that it sends the heat upwards, or is it to do with the paint that goes underneath the sticker?
Well, the paint that we use is a 2K enamel automotive paint, and it seems to be holding up very well. I rent my drum out sometimes to people to see if they want to use a drum smoker, if that's what is up for them. So I don't know what temperatures they get up to, but I can tell you it looks like there's been fires inside them. And the paint, yeah. Well, on the downside of a drum smoker, there is a downside to them. They are really good at everything except for one thing. If you leave the lid off for too long, it has a huge amount of oxygen for it to use now, and it will turn into a flame-licking fire out the top. Yeah, so that's the only downfall of using a drum that I can come across. Back to your question, though, about the paint and the stickers. The paint seems to be really good. That's why you can pick all sorts of different colors. And the stickers is something I don't do. I get a sign writer to do them for me, and we haven't had a problem with them yet. And the design, the drums do get hot. You can hold on to them, but 5 seconds, 6 seconds later, you got to take your hand off. So there's nothing fancy inside. It's just a drum in a basket.
Yeah, rightio. Cool. So what have you got planned for the future for Drue Be-Q? Are we going to see any new products in the lineup anytime soon?
Hopefully, like my head's full of all different creations and inventions and parts and whatever. But yeah, definitely I'm going to start a new venture coming out soon. So we Drue Be-Q and then also a whole nother business again. Parts. I had a rotisserie carousel type of thing. I think you might have seen that once at Kangaroo Valley. Had a couple of shelves that rotated around. Trying to be making that for a drum, but not all drums are the same size. They vary and 5 mil or so. So that's coming along. Hopefully get that out soon. But yeah, the new venture coming along. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I think from memory, it kind of looked like an old hickory, kind of the horizontal shelves that sort of circled around.
Yeah, similar.
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd Ben Arnott.
Alrighty, so now let's move on with our lesson now. So let's assume that I have no experience with smoking and I've just bought my first ever Drue Be-Q smoker.
When are you though?
On some of the, sorry?
When are you going to buy a Drue Be-Q?
I don't know. We might have to talk off air.
Yeah, we could put your sticker on it, that Mary.
Yeah, that would look pretty cool. Yeah. But I think that the wife would have something to say.
Well, that's the funny thing. A lot of the times I get smokers coming in, or people would like to buy a smoker. So, what colour do you want? You paint any colour you want. Well, the missus lets me have the smoker as long as she could pick the colour. So we've had that a few times. Yeah. So I think it's not a bad trade-off.
Nah,
they haven't been bad colours though. Sometimes they're baby blue and off-white, so but that's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For me, it's more of a, you've got 15. Do you really need any more barbecues? That's the line that I get.
If they're all antique Webbers, it's retirement fund.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's just cross fingers and hope that the Weber market just keeps skyrocketing up there.
I'll try and cross fingers. I've actually lost a few, so I can't do that.
Oh, right. Was that part of the learning how to weld thing?
No. No, one of my first jobs used to work in a timber mill, cutting trees into timber. About 15, yeah. And I cut a few fingers off.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
All right. So the drum smokers, tell us about about how to best use a drum smoker.
Best way to use a drum smoker is pretty simple. You don't need any fire management sort of skills. You light the charcoal and you control the temperature by air, just like most other barbecues. Hang on, got a notification. One of the problems that I spoke about before with a drum smoker is that if you leave the lid off for too long, 2, 3, 5 minutes, we start getting into the danger zone of all the air in the atmosphere now can be feeding this fire. One of the things that I like to do is to close the vents off. So if I'm going to open the lid and baste all my ribs and chicken wings, I'd close the vents off to stop the draw of the fire. So that will help you. But another tip to that is you could just take the grill out and go put that on your workbench. And that way you can close the lid, maintain temps, and do all your basting and whatnot, and then bring the grill back and just sit it back in.
Yeah, cool.
That's
that makes
one of my
sense.
tips.
Yeah. So when you're lighting the charcoal, do you go with a minion method, or do you just like lean in with one of those big butane torch things and just light it up in the center, or do you light the whole lot and let the whole lot burn from scratch, or like how do you set up that fire?
Well, the drums works like a minion method or snake method. As we spoke before, we fill up the charcoal basket and it'll cook for 20 hours or something like that. And it works in a minion method. So there's a few ways to do it. You can put a wax cube underneath and light the bottom. I like to just put a wax cube on top and just light it from the top, stack a couple around. And as the cook goes along, it just minion methods out. But have you seen them blow torches over in the States that look like guns?
Yeah.
That's going to be my new method.
Yeah.
Get one of them.
Yeah, I was just looking at them just last week. The name escapes me, but yeah, they look like a lot of fun.
Yes, they're very easy to use. Just light some charcoal, and by the time the wax cubes burn away, the charcoal's, smouldering away, and it's got some embers going in that. You close the lid, open up the air vents 100%, maximum oxygen, and let it go. And it's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit before your cook temperature. So if you're cooking at 300, about 250 Fahrenheit, you'll just back the air vents off, and then it'll creep up to its 300 Fahrenheit or 50 degrees more. And from lighting to your temperature that you want to cook at is roughly about 30 minutes.
Wow. That's pretty cool. 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then when you finish cooking, you just smother the fire, turn all the air off, exhaust off. There's no oxygen for the fire anymore. Fire goes out. And about 20 to 30 minutes later, the drum's cool enough to pick up, put it on the ute and drive home.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. All the ash, all the embers is a sealed unit. You don't have a risk of the fire falling out and burning your back deck. Though if the drum is sitting directly on your back deck, not on any wheels or bricks, it obviously will burn.
Yeah.
Very safe barbecue to use. You let it sit there, go off to Bunnings, go do the shopping, and it will stay at your cook temperature that you've set it at until the fire runs out.
Oh, very nice. Now, is there any particular drum-specific technique? Like, for example, with ceramic barbecues, Kamados and all that sort of stuff, you have to burp them. Is there anything sort of uniquely drum that we need to be aware of?
One of the things that I've learned or picked up or seen from YouTube videos, and I think works quite well, is the lid of the drum is the whole circumference of the drum. So I see a lot of people just push the lid straight down, push it straight down on the drum, and you actually push all this air in and blow the ash around at the bottom of your smoker and sometimes onto your food.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty, you wouldn't think that. It's like, here's the lid, just put it on top and it's fine. But if you put your hand over the intakes and you push your lid down, you can feel the back pressure pop up through the intakes.
Right.
So one of the techniques that I do is, instead of putting the lid straight down on top, I just slide it over the top and just let it come down.
Oh, there's a good tip.
So it's like a reverse burp, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah, you're pushing the air in reverse burp. That's the technique.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you want to trademark that one.
I got to trademark my slogan. It's easy to do with Drue Be.
Oh, nice. There you go. Yeah, very cool. And so what sort of, I guess, how do you, all right, so during a smoking phase, you've got to put on the wood chunks and whatnot. Do you have to actually pull the whole grill out with all the meat on it to be able to get extra wood chunks in? Or do you, if you're using a minion method, do you strategically place the wood chunks around the charcoal to burn as time passes?
Option B, you can, there's a few methods. You can put some wood chunks in the bottom, throw your charcoal on top, more wood chunks, charcoal on top, so forth. But if you think of the minion method, it's the same reason. You could just fill the whole charcoal up and stagger some wood chunks around the top, and away you go. Yeah. So it's minion method style.
So good, man. Drums definitely sound a hell of a lot easier than a lot of offsets out there. I can see why they're getting more and more popular.
Now, let's say if you're going to run an offset on cherry and do some cherry cooked brisket or beef ribs or something like that, there's a lot of logs of cherry you got to put on there to cook your brisket. So, for instance, in a drum, you're doing like half an apple-sized piece of cherry for your brisket, and that's it.
Wow.
So extremely efficient and inexpensive in that regard. The other thing is too, you can go over time, start buying the 5 kilo bags of fruit woods at the suppliers. You can end up with a plethora of all different bloody woods and mix them together as you go. Imagine if you had an offset and you got trailer loads of cherry in your backyard and peach and apple and so forth.
Yeah, I've reached a point with my wood collection where I buy wood from my supplier. They come in a clear plastic bag and he handwrites what it is on the front. And I get so obsessed with trying all these different types that by the time I loop back to the first bag, the handwriting's worn off. And so now I've got no idea what I'm using. I just know that it's some kind of fruit wood and I just throw it in and see what happens.
Is it true though that imported woods are kiln dried and most of the flavor's gone? I'm sure.
I'm not sure about that. What I have heard is that some of the imported woods have to be treated.
Yeah,
in some way. So
I've heard it. I haven't really tested it. So don't know. If someone knows, ring in.
Yeah. Ring Drew.
No, Ben. Ring Ben, because then he can tell everybody.
Yeah,
But yeah, anyway, the point is shop local, support Australian.
Yeah, good. I like that. All right, man. Look, that's about probably a good point to start wrapping up the episode. So I'm going to throw the studio open to you now. So feel free to give some shout outs, give some thanks to people who've supported you along the way, and tell all the listeners where they can track you down on the social medias.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. First, I've got to thank yourself for letting all these small guys have somewhere to speak, like your Smoking Hot Confessions discussion group and the weekly posts that you do. It's really good, man. Appreciate that. There's too many people for me to thank, but I have to thank my mom and my dad. They're helping me so much. I can't do it without them. Jason, the painter, the paint makes the drums look super special. Like there's a few coming out next week that's going to look fantastic. My new partner, Stacey, and she lets me do all this stuff and spend hours and hours in the shed after work, rubbing the fat barbecue team. Oh man, the list goes on. Fire brands, because their charcoal is really good and just can't fault it. Man, everyone, just thank you for the support and the feedback that I get from everyone. I take it all in, make tweaks and adjustments to everything to try and make sure that everyone can have a good time smoking.
Sounds good, man.
Meat, that is, not drugs.
Yeah.
Don't smoke drugs.
Of course. We would never condone that kind of behaviour here on Smoking Hot Confessions.
That's right.
So just make sure that you tell us where we can track you down on the different social medias.
Oh, yeah, true. So I'm on Facebook under Drue B-Q, which is DRUBQ, and on Instagram under DRUEBE, Drue B.
Nice one, man. Awesome. So, look, thank you very much for taking time out. I realise that, you finished your day of work and now you've hung out with me for an hour or so. So I really appreciate your dedication to that. And I can tell that you're itching to get in there and polish up some more of those drums I can see behind you.
Yeah, there's a few there. I'm actually might cut it for the day, go play some video games later on tonight. I actually got an 8-hour shift tomorrow on Saturday, so might just get some rest in today and get back into it Sunday.
Sounds good, man. All righty, look, I'm going to say thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you down at Kangaroo Valley again in September.
Do you think they'll be on this year? Is it November or September?
September.
Oh, man, hopefully it goes on and the Royal doesn't, because Kangaroo Valley is by far my favourite competition in the circuit. Yeah,
it's very cool.
Anyway, Ben, thank you so much for your time and keep doing what you're doing, man. It's great. I love it.
And there you have it, family. That was Drue Be from Dru-B-Q. Sorry, Drue Be. My pronunciation is terrible. All right, Drue Be from Dru-B-Q. If you're looking for a drum smoker, these have to be on your list. Now, as I did say during the interview, I had a good crawl over a couple of them at the Kangaroo Valley competition last year, and I can personally vouch for the quality of the workmanship on these drums. They are every bit as good as the imported ones, and they are 100% Australian made. And the increasing number of Dru-B-Qs that we're seeing on the competition circuit and popping up in social medias in people's backyards is a testament to how well they run. So search him down on the social medias there. Give Drew some love. He's doing a great job. And as I said, it's all Aussie made, engineered, designed from scratch. So get behind it. It's really good stuff. Now, before we go, take a minute and give this video a like and a share on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe and hit the bell if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Instagram TV, give us that cute little heart and a follow. And if you're listening on a podcast app, shoot us with a 5-star review and a rating. And it just lets the robot overlords know that you like the show and that they should show the show to other people as well. And it really helps us out. And just a quick reminder, if you are looking to upskill either yourself or your employees, or, you just want to increase your social media game, head over to meatandfiremediaservices.com, check out that online course and use the word podcast for a 25% discount. And that's all the time we have for today. So until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.